My name is Janelle Merrick, and I was born and raised in California. Went to medical school at Tulane University in New Orleans and did OBGYN residency training in Memphis, Tennessee. I practiced in Knoxville, Tennessee after that for about 14 years. And during that time, I realized that the way we were trained in conventional medical school to take care of patients by mostly just prescribing drugs doesn't really help people achieve health. It basically medicates problems and more or less moderates them a little bit, but doesn't solve any problems. And so the problem for someone, or the reason for someone having a particular problem isn't addressed, it's going to continue, and the person's going to be dependent on the medications pretty much lifelong. So after about 10 years in practice, I realized, yeah, people are getting, they're getting fatigued, they're getting depressed, they hurt, they have low moods, they just don't have the quality of life that they deserve. And that's something I casually observed after about 10 years in practice. So I started looking at different ways to help people. And that's when I discovered functional or integrative health, which helps patients get back to, optimal functioning, and therefore their symptoms get better. Why I wanted to be a doctor in the first place is I really am very keen on science. So in biological sciences was my undergrad degree at University of California, Irvine. And I just felt like medicine was a related, something that would make sense to me and feel comfortable to me to be practicing, day in and day out. And it was a way to help patients. So I guess that's how I got started. Yeah, I had the idea in high school and shadowed a surgeon for a while, and that was really exciting. So
that's nice. It's nice
to know what your
calling is for that long. Definitely. So tell me a little bit about your guys' practice, and maybe a little bit of the difference between functional and integrative medicine versus conventional medicine, and the way that people practice on both sides. Since you said you did have 10 years of experience before you decided to make that shift.
Yeah, so Tustin Longevity does practice integrative health. We do realize there's a time and place for medications, and we do prescribe. But meanwhile, we like to work at restoring health. So we look at nutrition, probably is the number one thing. Most Americans are eating way too many carbohydrates, all the bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, cereal, and sweets. And so we try to, shift them over to eating more protein, nuts, and healthy oils like, protein, nuts, and veggies, and nuts and avocados are the healthy oils. And help them with strengthening their immune system. We use Immunolabs testing for IgG antibodies for food sensitivities, delayed hypersensitivity, which is different than allergies. And we help to minimize toxicities, especially chelation therapy for toxic metals. And that affects the immune system, the cardiovascular risk, what really affects every cell in your body. But there are also serious toxicities to nervous system function. So that's kind of our approach, and we see great results. We try not to be specialized. We try to just work on the overall health.
Very good, very good. And immune response is, a hot topic right now with all the things that are going on in the world.
Right.
And one of the recent updates for Drs Nutrition Bar was all the addition of the probiotics, and then coupled with the prebiotics, really providing a nice, a nice dose of healthy probiotics, or healthy. I don't even know how I would explain that. Or could you explain how that impacts a person's immune response and or overall health? The probiotic addition to Drs Nutrition Bar.
Right. Well, the gut has a ton of bacteria. We know this, and should be healthy types of bacteria. We do stool testing too to analyze what's living in the gut for our patients when indicated, not necessarily everybody. But the probiotics, now more and more, there's more research associating certain health outcomes with certain species of bacteria that live within us. And there's more bacterial DNA in us than there is human DNA in us. So that's how important it is. And
Yeah.
then the immune system, there's the general immune system, but there's also a gut-associated lymphatic system. So what happens in the gut controls or is related to health in general. So having the probiotic, the healthy bacteria in a source like the bar or a supplement, a capsule or powder form is helpful. And then the prebiotics actually feed the good bacteria so that they can survive.
Very cool. And how would you say that impacts like things like you would say that has a significant impact on immune response? What are some of the other things that healthy gut can improve on for
just about anything in your health that you can name could be related to problems with the GI health. Anything. Could be moods, could be energy, could be yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in addition to that, in addition to the pre and probiotics, of course, there's the phospholipids, which are the healthy fats and aid in cell function and cell reproduction, or creating healthy cells. Can you talk a little bit behind that, the science behind that, and why phospholipids are important to healthy cells?
Yeah, well, they become us. So the fats that we eat get incorporated into the repair of the cell membrane. We have a little diagram we use all the time right here on the wall with the bilipid layer. So it's kind of shiny, so you can't see. But basically, there's lipids, a double layer wrapped around all of our cells. That is the cell membrane, and that's important because that's where our hormones attach to the cell membrane, and the message of the hormone is received. And of course, the membrane is how we transport oxygen across the membrane into the cell, and we transport wastes out of the cell. So the membrane health is super important, and the phospholipids are in the bar to help with a good source for healthy oils.
So as far as overall health, immune response, healthy cells, I guess that would go into like anti-aging, energy.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything has to do with, the production of healthy cells, correct?
Right.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a great science. And then you had mentioned, earlier on in the conversation, you had talked a little bit about the fact that, as I guess Americans, or the American diet is very high in carbohydrates and sugar. And Drs Nutrition Bar only has 4 net carbs. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail and go into detail the benefits associated with eating a lower carb, low sugar diet, as opposed to, some of the things that you're seeing in your practice with people who eat too much sugar?
Right. Well, why we should care about carbs is several-fold. Number one is the causing of or moving of a person towards diabetes, as they have to make more and more insulin to control the carbohydrates, to handle the carbohydrates that they're eating. So the way it works is the pancreas releases the insulin that moves the sugar inside of our cells after a meal. So over years and years, decades of eating too many carbs, slowly our insulin levels have to increase to keep up with that. And after a while, there won't be enough insulin to be able to be made by the pancreas to have a healthy blood sugar. And then we find ourselves getting into diabetes. So, and then all the complications of diabetes, cardiovascular and neurological, and all those, things we want to avoid. So that's the diabetes issue. And then the insulin also tells our body to store extra calories as fat instead of carbohydrates in a starch form in the liver called glycogen. And so more and more insulin means more and more body fat. But then unfortunately, the more body fat we have, the less sensitivity we have, less ability we have to utilize the insulin that we are making. So then we have to make more insulin because we have high body fat, and we get into a vicious cycle of weight gain as insulin goes up as a person approaches diabetes. And then carbohydrates turn into glucose. Glucose is a simple sugar. And the problem with that is the glucose molecules are food for cancer cells. Cancer cells are very weak, and they have to have preformed glucose. So we can literally starve our body's cancer cells with, steering clear of carbs and not having this readily available food source all the time. And the fact is, we all have cancer cells floating in our blood. They can be isolated at any time. They're called cancer stem cells. And there's usually about 3 per deciliter. And you just don't want to have factors like extra food, glucose, for the cancer cells to multiply and divide and take hold and become a tumor. And then along the same lines for cancer prevention, you don't want to eat excess carbohydrates and raise your glucose levels, because that knocks down the natural killer cells, which are our police force against cancer cells. They're specialized white blood cell, and they are immobilized when we eat sugar. They're immobilized for up to 6 hours after we eat the equivalent of a candy bar. You know, and some people are eating candies and drinking sugar drinks, you know, Coca-Colas and things like that all day, then their immune system is never optimal. It's always suppressed. So
Yeah,
those are some of the biggest reasons that I can think of not to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'd love to say that we are curing cancer, but we know we're not doing that. But definitely healthy
Right.
diet can play a key role in that. So that's super interesting. You're such a wealth of knowledge. I'm getting so much out of just, you know, talking with doctors about the science behind the bar. So it's been
Good.
super informative. So I appreciate
Great.
that. So have you had any patients that have been, you know, consuming the bar, and have you seen anything change within their labs, or, you know, have they mentioned any, you know, effects associated with, you know, having Dr.
Well,
Nutrition Bar on a regular basis?
you know, it's hard to say because we're never just prescribing the bar, and we, you know, we did our research, so we know what happens with the sugar and insulin response, and it's very dramatic, very low compared to other bars. So there's not really a patient that I would attribute their health improvements just to the bar, but it's an integral part of what they're doing. And it's a great way to have a healthy snack or a meal replacement when they would otherwise be eating, you know, not such good choices. You know, the bread, the pasta, potatoes, rice, and cereal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then, as far as the low net carbs, does that probably plays into the fact that it's the keto friendly aspects of it, not spiking the blood sugar and things of that nature, keeping people in ketosis. Is that something that you guys practice as a, you know, as a recommendation for people to keep that low carb diet? Or
ketogenic is really good. It is very strict, and I think it's not for everyone. And probably long-term isn't the thing you want to do long-term. But that's very, very low carbohydrates. It's hard for people to keep that up for any length of time. And sometimes I find if people try to bite off more than they can chew, so to speak, they rebound and they fall off the wagon and they just eat more carbs than they ever did, and it just backfires. But we do advocate low carb eating, and if you steer clear of the breads, pastas, potatoes, rice, and cereal, and limit your fruits to berries, and don't eat sweets, desserts, and, you know, candies and cookies and stuff, that'll be a real low carb diet and be very healthy and something people can do long term. You'll have plenty of variety and plenty of nutrition. You know, the nutrients that come from the vegetables are there, and so there's not really we don't have a strict ketogenic recommendation, but some of our patients kind of adopt that on their own.
Yeah, very good, very good. And then in regards to overall health, how frequently are you recommending Drs Nutrition Bar, or how do you guys recommend it through your practice? Would you recommend it?
We always recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you
always recommend
What would you say to other healthcare practitioners that were, you know, looking for a healthy alternative for their patients to snack on?
Well, if anybody has ever looked at what's on the market, they'll realize why we were motivated to make a superior bar, because there really aren't any good choices. You know, they're all pretty much full of carbohydrates, and some of them are full of, you know, artificial things and food colors, and, you know, just not optimal. So no, we're very pleased with the way the Doctor's Great Bar came out. It doesn't have any drawbacks. I just can't think of a reason why, you know, somebody wouldn't incorporate it. So unless they have a specific allergy to one of the ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, the more research that I do on competitors in the marketplace and the science behind the bar, the more I realize the benefits associated with choosing a Doctor's Nutrition Bar over other alternatives on the market. So, well, that's all I had for you. I just wanted to get your feedback. Again, I wanted to thank you tremendously for your time. I know you're busy. And we're looking forward to, hopefully maybe future discussions and topics as we continue to grow.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll make it a great day and be well.
All right.